Hello, everybody.
Hi, happy Sovereign Sunday. Thank you for joining us. This is we took like a 2-week break.
Yeah. Last week was a repeat, and then the week before was a repeat. The Awakened Children episode, and then last week we were up in New Hampshire at the at the Light and Liberty Festival at Rogers Campground in Lancaster, New Hampshire. And it was a great weekend. And so today's show, we actually pre-recorded there at the festival with the festival hosts, Tarrin, Lupo, and Stephanie Enger. So in just a few minutes, we're going to get to their interview. And we really hope that you enjoy this episode. We had a really great time at this festival. It was the first one. And it was very decentralized. Everybody just came and shared what they felt like sharing. Some people gave classes on crystals, how to use crystals for healing, how to read the tarot. Vanessa did an amazing, not only meditation, but also a class on ancient Toltec practices. And maybe we'll be uploading that to the Sovereign Lovestream channel or Sovereign in the City channel as well. So you can check that out. That'll be up probably by next week. And we'll remind you next week if you're interested to check that out.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Just last night we were talking about how it's been a whole week and we're still feeling the effects of being in an awesome community surrounded by awesome people. To feel like you're in a community is just so beautiful to have that support. We've made new connections and we're just so excited to keep in touch with all of these people. Excited for next year's events. We're already planning the things that we want to offer. It's just been great. We've been kind of unpacking all of these amazing experiences. And this conversation that we had with Tarrin and Stephanie was really amazing. Also, not just on how this whole event started and what we hope it will become eventually, but also the idea of coming out of the spiritual closet, of talking to people about your spiritual beliefs and kind of putting yourself out there, because I think it's very difficult sometimes, especially when your beliefs don't fall into this very conventional idea of what spirituality is. So we hope you really enjoy this conversation. If you have any questions, we'll be here monitoring the comments and responding to anything as it comes along. We'll leave some links in the comments as well as to how you can find out more about this community that we're building, more about our hosts, Tarrin and Stephanie. And
everything's in the video description, so you can check those out. All right, without further ado, here is Tarrin, Lupo, and Stephanie Enger from the Light and Liberty Festival in Lancaster, New Hampshire. Enjoy it. Welcome to Sovereign Lovestream.
Hi, happy Sovereign Sunday. We're Danny and Vanessa, and today we are at the Light and Liberty Festival in Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Yeah, and we have with us Tarrin, Lupo and Steph Enger.
Hi.
And they are joining us as our guests. They are the organizers of this. I know we like to keep it loose, and Tarrin will go into a little bit about that, but they have organized this festival that we're here at. And basically it's a kind of a conglomeration of people who are from the Liberty movement, who are also very spiritual and wanted to be open about our spirituality. So we're going to have a little conversation today. We're going to talk about the festival. We're going to talk about coming out of the spiritual closet and letting go of some of the inhibitions that we may have about our spiritual beliefs because we're embarrassed about them or we're afraid of judgment from other people. So welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
I'm excited to be on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Have you?
We
Yep, we did. We listened to the whole one the other day.
We made sure
Awesome.
figured out what your show was about before we did it.
Well, I'm glad you still came on.
So there's a lot of stuff you said resonated with me. It's like, oh, me and Danny are on some of the same paths for sure.
Oh, great. Yeah, excellent. All right, so tell us a little bit about how this got started, the Light and Liberty Festival.
So I was also a closet, I guess, energy person. I don't know how to describe it. A woo-hoo guy, and I kind of always kept it quiet because in the Liberty community, one thing about the Liberty community is it brings a lot of. It used to be a lot of. I'm just gonna say it, angry libertarian men who like to debate logic and argue.
I was one of them.
And they think that if I could explain something to you logically and win that logical argument, that you would change your views. Like, there's a bunch of Spocks that I was talking to, and they kind of always discounted the emotional or the spiritual side and the morality side. And that was a problem. I remember about 5 or 6 years ago, one of my really good friends was a really good psychic. And I invited her to come to this, and she had posted on the Facebook page, yeah, I'll be doing psychic readings. And there was like 20 comments of people just tearing her apart about how it was BS and you're fleecing people and you're a charlatan if you show up, and just like brutally attacking this girl. And I like came to the rescue. I was like, what's wrong with you people? I'm trying to invite people. I thought the whole idea of the Liberty movement was to bring cool people in, And so what if she's a psychic? Why you got to be a jerk online about it, if you don't believe in it? And after seeing that, just the savagery of, all she did was like, I'm going to be doing psychic readings at Site 51 or something. And it was like 20 arguments about.
You would think she was going to burn people and as offerings to the gods.
And that she was a fraud, and it was, she was stealing people's money, and you're an idiot for ever using it. And that's not a free market answer. If I want to pay someone to dance the hoochie coochie, that's my business. It's not anything that, it's my decision if I want someone to read chicken bones for me on the ground, whatever. So after seeing that, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I shouldn't be
quite so
open about, my belief system. And I was also in a home environments that were not very good about. They wanted me to stay quiet about that sort of stuff, and maybe we can get into that later. So over the years, I kept slowly meeting other people that would have like, it was almost like quiet conversations in there in secret, or you'd see someone wearing a necklace, and you'd be like, all right, you got a crystal on. That's kind of like the nod,
Secret handshake.
Yeah. And why is this such a problem in this movement that, and I think it's a bunch of people that are on the spectrum and people that like to argue, and that in the beginning, like I said, in the original Pork Fest, it was like 80% men of angry, pissed off libertarians. And now it's shifted to families and a lot more women, and it doesn't quite have that same vibe. So it's changed, thank goodness. Mm-hmm. But I think I held on to a lot of those old problems. And I started getting visions of, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Like my higher self talks to me all the time, or something does, I don't know. But I'm getting hearing that I need to do this. And so I finally dropped the idea up, and people are like, maybe I'll go, I don't know. And maybe. And then I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep pushing this. And after I got like 4 or 5 people, I found, I guess, 4 or 5 of the right people. We just kind of, the universe brings them to you. Then they brought some of their friends. And before we knew it, for a first festival, I think we counted the other night, and we were up to, I think about like 36, 37 adults and probably 10 kids. So almost 50 people if we count it. That's
pretty big turnout.
Darn good for like
event.
A little telegram idea that
It's such a
I
niche,
just pushed.
Liberty energy workers.
Right. And so that's how it started. It was honestly the divine just talking to me, saying, do this, and wouldn't shut up. And so I was like, all right, I'll do it. And then I found the right people. And for your listeners that don't know, so the idea is, I've been to lots of different festivals, and most of them, when you start an organization, the organization becomes more important than the message. Mm-hmm. And a board will take over and just kind of like hijack it and ruin it and stuff like that. So I don't want a festival that ever becomes that. So there is no one in charge. This is decentralized. Yes, I'm a host, but there's also other hosts. And yeah, I might, help out with the schedule, but honestly, I'd be happy to turn the schedule over to someone.
Oh no, we totally wrangle everybody. Hey Chris, so can you come write this down on the board?
Yeah, so it's kind of, we're solving problems out of necessity like a good community should. And I said this before, that if we consider ourselves on the path, as enlightened beings, and we 50 people can't get along and make it work, what hope do we have for
actually changing?
If our little community can't put that aside? So yeah, if there's arguments or disagreements or things like that, we do use liberty philosophy, but we also use, I would say, first compassion, empathy, and love. Now, why is this person pissed off about this? Why are they upset? And we haven't had one.
There's not
problem.
been one single problem.
Not one issue except a cat getting loose. That was about it.
Yeah. Well, for me, as a former angry libertarian man, and I think I don't want to make it sound like we're criticizing the anger, because it's normal.
It's legit.
It's normal, and it's absolutely justified to be angry when you wake up and realize, like, most of our life is a lie, and government is mostly just about control. But I think we have to move past the anger part of it and get to the solution part of it, right? We can't just be screaming at the government constantly, because it doesn't really do anything. And as an agorist, I believe deeply in the agorist philosophy, which is basically setting up free market solutions which would make the government irrelevant, And I feel like that is very much in line with the spirit of liberty, with the spirit of spirituality. Is about freedom from not just external things like government trying to control you, but freedom from anger, freedom from negative emotions that can limit you and hold you back from living your best life, being happy, being free, because that's, to me, what true freedom is, happiness, right? So if we stay stagnant in that libertarian angry mindset, we're never really free. We're still captive to whoever's trying to control us, and our own emotions trying to control us.
We're easily manipulated.
Yeah.
It's so easy to make a pissed off person pissed off by just, did you hear what Trump did today? It's like,
right. Just push the wrong button and it's
right.
What the way I dealt with that came out of that, because when I started this, if you go back on my YouTube channel 12 years ago, you'll see me leading a crowd of people, super pissed off libertarians, and me being one of the most pissed off, like trying to help. I understand being angry, but it was one of these things, like you were saying, is, okay, what now? We're angry, and 99.9 things that happen in the world and the news do not affect my life in any way at all. And so the 1%, if it comes to my doorstep, I'll deal with it. But until it comes to my doorstep, I just don't care.
Then you're getting angry and worked up about something that doesn't affect you.
It's a terrible place to live.
As far as you're concerned, does not exist.
Exactly. I'm like, how do I know this is happening? At this point, I'm, the whole thing seems like a simulation to me.
So it's pretty hard to manipulate you if you don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went from trying to change things to basically just ignoring them.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't do anything.
And all of the great thinkers, all of the great people that we admire have always said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family, or start with yourself, and that really is it, right? Once you start, what's the point of you being angry and then bringing that anger home to your partner, to your children, and how does that help the outside world?
No, is it just breeding more anger?
Exactly. And we don't realize that we're perpetuating that anger, because if you're having a Facebook argument and you're like going back and forth angrily, then when you turn around and your kid says something, you're like, what?
Guilty. How many times that's happened?
Oh,
that exact same, she's describing what happens with me when I'm Facebook debating. And it's
you're like ignoring your kids completely, and you're arguing some dude that
like
will
you've
never
lost
agree
the plot at that point.
Especially when an hour earlier you're like, would you put the tablet down and go play outside?
But it was when I got into this partnership with Vanessa that she really helped me see. I got empathy tattooed on my arm to remind me, because I was so angry all the time that I had to constantly be reminded to come back to a place of compassion and empathy and finding my spiritual center, letting that anger go, letting it pass through me, feeling it. Yes, it sucks.
And it's yours and own it, but
Yeah, but let it pass through. Let it go. I don't have to let what Trump did today trigger me where now I'm going to be nasty to my kid. I mean,
it reminds me very much of many years ago when there was a bunch of people pissed off about 9/11 conspiracies or reptile conspiracies or whatever conspiracy. And I would argue with these people and I would say, yeah, what you're saying is probably 100% right. But what now? But we just got to wake people up and get this message out and let everybody know. Okay, if everybody knows, do you think anything's going to change? What now? So you just wasted, 10 years of your life looking up all these details about 9/11 to scare the hell out of yourself and making it bad news. And then okay, so what's your end game? What if this actually happened? Well, I don't know, just to wake people up, it's like, to what? But the government's really bad instead of really, really, really bad now? Like, want to add
it's
extra
even
really?
worse than we thought.
And it's like, how do you know the government's bad? I don't even know the world.
Oh, what was the comment on that one video?
Fear.
The government's trying to kill us. And he was like, I don't even know what to say. I know. I mean,
of course they are.
Well, that's actually how Danny and I met. So when Danny and I met at a Halloween party, a mutual friend invited me. She was one of his coworkers, and it's 2009, right? And he comes up to me with the DVD, and he goes, "Hey, do you know 9/11 was an inside job?" Now, it's a real estate party, so I'm like, what's this guy talking about? And I'm like,
really? That's how you met?
yeah, that's literally the first thing he said to me was,
fabulous.
"Hey,
I was handing out DVDs of Loose Change. I was in my Captain America costume handing out Loose Change DVDs.
And you were like, I got to have this guy.
I was like,
That was it.
Yeah.
That was the deal
I was
breaker.
like, yeah."
So we joke now and say, you had me at 9/11.
But I was
That's
shocked.
actually really romantic to me.
I was really shocked because I knew 9/11 was an inside job
That's so
on
good.
September
Oh my
11th,
God.
2001. Like, literally, my dad and I are sitting watching TV. My dad goes, "You know the government did this, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's pretty
Look at
clear,
it.
right? Look at it." And so, but I didn't know there was a whole thing called the Truth Movement. I didn't know there were people trying to wake everybody up. It was like, yeah, that happened. Okay.
It's more the end game, because if you talk to these people, it's like, okay, what if you wake everyone up? Then what?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have an answer. Like,
So
I don't know,
but
just
they'll
wake
all
everybody
know.
up.
Okay,
Everybody's pissed
and
off. Okay.
I guess
until the next tragedy.
I think what people
You know, it's
are
like-
looking for,
it's-
or I would like to think, is what they're hoping is to wake people up so that we can prevent it next time.
But I get that.
But
But
it's who
They're
are
just
you
going to
fighting?
distract you again with another psyop.
Exactly.
Well, it happened the same thing with the flat earthers. They got stuck on that one thing, but they lied. Okay, and if this is true,
Right.
don't
What
even
difference
look-
does it make if the Earth is flat?
how
or
does
round?
it affect me today?
Yeah.
Do I still have to get up and eat?
Yeah.
You know? Or
Can I still live my best life? Whether,
Yeah.
whether the Earth is
What
flat
does
or
it
round?
really
Yes, absolutely I can.
you know,
I can
and,
be
but they're
happy.
so angry and they're just stuck in that one spot about it, and I don't understand why. How do you? Okay,
It's
let's move
out there,
on. Let's
'cause,
go.
Yeah, it's you understand there are dark forces out there, and they do lay potholes for people to get stuck in, so we can't get together and evolve.
Yeah.
But they're starting to lose a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
grip. But we're naturally coming together and finding each other at like light speed now.
Yeah.
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 And
There's definitely a huge
There's
shift.
a shift that's happened for sure. And so it doesn't really matter. Is 9/11? Yeah, it's probably an inside job. Whatever. Do I care? No, because it doesn't
Because
affect my
everything
life.
is pretty much inside
Everything.
job.
One of my
I can have a
egos is like,
giant list of
why
horrible
doesn't he
things. to do.
care? Why doesn't he care?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
But the government is openly like dropping bombs on people and killing people.
Yeah.
Why
I'm
aren't you
more
mad about that?
I'm
And
more
they're
worried about
openly
the
being
food
like, yeah, we
supply.
bombed the crap out
Yeah.
of these people.
Yeah.
And that is, there's no argument, but that's a horrible evil. Why not get upset about that?
They're all
But
horrible.
no, we want to, but the government lie. They're
They
openly
lie
doing
every
evil
day.
all the time. Mountains of evil.
Would it make you feel better if they were honest about it? I mean,
No.
if they still did it and didn't lie, I mean, I don't understand where that it's a
So for
government.
me-
So we don't. I mean, yeah, it's just an evolution. And I think me and Danny are definitely on the same path. It's really interesting to watch how people have changed in the liberty world. They start off as kind of like Republican light, then they go to libertarian, then they go to anarchist, then they go to voluntarist, and then they go spiritual. I'll leave me alonist. How to do my jam. And
Absolutely.
it's funny. I'm watching all of us go down this loop.
Yeah.
The deconstruction loop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, absolutely. And I take it, I just brought it up at one of the other panels, the nonviolent communication. And I've been trying to, along with several others, Derek Rose and Adam Kokesh and a bunch of people have been preaching nonviolent communication. Sometimes we don't always practice what we preach, but, we're trying. And I've been trying to say that the NAP is just like the kindergarten basics. Libertarianism, the non-aggression principle, is just basic morality. It's kindergarten. We have to graduate past that. We have to move forward. And I think the spiritual path is eventually, hopefully, where, a lot of us are ending up, but hopefully more will continue to on their own path. And it's not even a matter of, you could be spiritual and not even believe in a higher power. It's more about going within yourself to find peace, right? And some people say that they go within themselves and they find God, and that's great if you view it that way, but you don't have to view it that way. But I think that's really what it is. And that's like maybe college, right, or a master's degree when you get to that level, right, where you're doing the shadow work and you're dealing with your emotions and you're dealing with your past traumas, and you're able to work through. And that's what this show is about. I mean, we work through our traumas every week live on the air. And we just really feel like being vulnerable about those things and coming out of the closet about a lot of, not just our spiritual beliefs, but about our faults, our traumas, and the terrible ways that we've reacted to those traumas,
I think in the social media age, we tend to post all the happy moments. Like,
Exactly.
this was a great time in my life. We hardly ever post the difficulties that we're going through. And one of the major reasons why we wanted to create this Lovestream was to open up the conversation, to have people see, like, oh, there are other people out there struggling with the same issue.
Yeah.
It's not just me. There's nothing wrong with me. We were afraid of, like, people finding out we were going to therapy together, right? There's this, like, stigma, like, oh my God, we're in couples counseling. People are going to think that we hate each other or that we don't belong together. And that's one of the proudest moments of my relationship, I feel like, that we took the steps to fix the problem. We were like, there's a problem, we can fix this. Let's do the work. Let's read the books. Let's, do everything that we have to do to make this work. And we were talking earlier that we're just in this place where I'm just grateful for all of it. Like, yeah, this all happened, and there's no judgment about what happened. All of those horrible moments that we experienced, all those times where it seemed like we were at the end of our rope and that's it, this is it, this is the end, I'm about to just call it quits. And we made it, and it's hard. It's really, really difficult, and it feels very lonely. And I think to know that there are other people out there going through the same thing and that they can overcome it, I feel like is some sort of, I don't know, like a lifeline a little bit. Like,
I think what you're doing is really important, especially right now. All those people trapped at home together
Yeah.
in relationships that probably wouldn't last if they didn't work opposite schedules.
Yeah.
I mean, I only know 6 people maybe that didn't split.
Yeah, there's massive. But this is what I was kind of saying last night. 2020 seems like a horrible year to most people, but there's really a lot of good stuff that happened. Yeah,
It's just
they're forcing a bunch of couples to break up, but those couples shouldn't have been together.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're finding people that they're supposed to be with in their
Exactly.
tribe and all this. And it was like the catalyst of the universe coming down and smacking you and
and it
setting you
happened
loose.
fast.
And it happened fast. And it was like she was saying, it's really easy to just settle with mediocrity and a spouse where you get in a loop and
If you don't
it's
see them
good
all the
enough.
time, it's kind of an out
Yeah.
of sight,
You
out
know,
of mind. It's
it's
just that other
too
guy that walks down the
expensive.
hallway,
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
It's too expensive
nobody can
to
afford to live on
leave.
their own now. And
And it's too much drama to leave, and it's hurtful and all this, and it's just too hard.
Mm-hmm.
But when you force two people to be together, it's like
24/7 for 6
boiling
months
points
straight.
come out, and it's like, I don't care how hard it is, I'm getting out. And that's what happened to me.
And for every relationship that happened to, there may have been other relationships where it brought them stronger together, where they were like, all these negative things came out,
Well, and I did.
but
see
we
that.
we have to face it, and let's work through it together and get through it.
Well, I
So
thought
either
it
way,
was that-
2020 has been a good year.
Yeah.
For that.
I've seen even one step further than problems was families that actually were why are we going to work all the time?
Yeah.
Why are we sending our kids away for 9-10 hours a day to school and then daycare and then you like rushing home? And the little town I lived in Indiana, every time we'd go into town, I would hear the ladies in like the laundromat or the grocery store or whatever, they're like, no, our kids aren't going back. They might as well just close that school down.
Yeah.
I think there's only like 2 kids that want to still go.
So many people have turned to homeschooling, which I think is beautiful. A lot of people started seeing how their kids were learning. Some people, it didn't sit right with them, and they were like, I don't know.
Did you see that thing? Steph pointed that out, that there is some school now that the parents aren't allowed to watch the classes because and the parents were like freaking out.
All the parents were like, wait, what?
Like,
why? Why can't we watch?
Because the teacher's like, well, you're not allowed to watch the class if it was live. Why can you watch it while it's streamed? And because so many parents were like,
wait,
that's what you're learning? This is BS. So this Common Core math is
that's something that I didn't even think of. Xander has already been homeschooled from before, so I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it didn't affect.
Huge to expose parents to what they're actually being taught.
What's actually taught, and then there's like they're just yanking them out of the programs. I mean, it's a blessing for homeschool, and it's massively disruptive to these parents' life. But you know what? When the shuffling's over, they're going to have good time with their children at home, not some corporate job they hate to do just because they want to have a nice car.
Yeah.
You know?
I've seen a lot of people turn to art, to their side gigs, to these things that they had just seen as side gigs.
And being happier with less, honestly.
Yeah.
I have ripped my life apart in the last year, and I really don't have much anymore. I'm super happy.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's amazing how that happens,
Imagine
right?
that material possessions don't make you happy.
What? Who said that? Did you come up with that?
The media is constantly telling me I need this, and that to be happy. I need a pill, a car, and a big house to be happy.
Give me pizza once a week. I'm good. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we had a habit of going out a lot, and I mean, we still go out to eat. But we have a roommate that we hardly ever see, and he's been our roommate for years. And we hardly ever interacted with him. And because of the pandemic, you know, turns out he's a great cook. And and we've been like, you know, planning meals together. And now he's back to work. And he, on his day off, he's like, what are we going to cook for dinner tonight? And I'm like, oh, okay. We're going to have dinner with David. And so now once a week we have dinner with our roommate, which is something that we had never done before.
For years, yeah.
Well, it's like everybody yeast. There's like a yeast shortage because everybody decided to like, let's teach the kids how to bake bread. You know, I'm like, everybody knows how to
We
bake.
couldn't get yeast for like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I'm like, I've always baked bread. I still want to.
Yeah.
I saw a commercial where they mentioned that everybody's baking bread. What's that about?
Yeah.
It's like an AT&T commercial.
It's,
and it was just weird.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just like
what's that
something everybody did.
Yeah, it was all over Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Everybody was baking bread.
And my best friend, he started to garden with his kid, and this kid is so excited about gardening. Like, you know, so they're posting pictures of his tomato growing and this and that. Ended up being a wonderful blessing.
Yeah.
Now they have something in common. They're growing their vegetables.
Yeah, we filled up our apartment with all sorts of plants, and Xander gets, you know, he's excited about to see the growth of the plants, and
That's
you know,
really
he
cool.
has one in his room that he named Twisty, and he's like, I'm like, Twisty grew, and he's like, oh yeah, look at all those new leaves, and you know, it's exciting. It's a different, you know, it's a different dynamic, and I think we become more intentional when something like that happens. We kind of tend to live in this like cyclical thing, like, all right, yeah, we go to work and we come home and we make dinner, and this thing,
habits.
yeah,
and it's like so isolating too.
Yeah.
Because even though you're out, you have like that routine every day, you don't even see.
Yeah, you don't bother to pay attention, and now everybody's more conscious. I was even thinking, like, Danny was super angry about the masks, and I was thinking, you know what? People make a more conscious effort to look each other in the eye right now. Because it's like we're all wearing these masks, and so, you know, like, then you just kind of look at each other and you find a way to make some sort of facial expression where you can see that you're smiling at each other, or even just wave, and it's like, oh, people are intentionally connecting because there's this barrier now that makes them feel like, oh, you know, I can't see the other person, I don't know if they're smiling or not. I'm like, I'm just going to assume everybody's smiling at me at this point and smile back.
So I would love to hear how your relationship has helped you guys come out of the closet spiritually, or how that has encouraged your spiritual growth.
All right. I think I'm ready, because normally I don't talk about my relationship, but I will. and I think it's important because we had a similar path, so I feel comfortable talking at an event. But so I was a serial monogamist in a sense that I would date for a while, a long term, usually 2 or 3 years, and then the girl reached their expiration date, and I'd get another one. And you'd go through this cycle, and I kept trying to make this work. Like, if I could just find the right one, and I'd find a girl, and I was like, okay, maybe she's the right one. But I never, in my heart, ever felt happy, and I always kind of felt like I had a foot out the door, and I was always kind of keeping an eye open and waiting for the next one to come along that was better. And, meanwhile, I'm with a girl that's like, let's get married forever, and let's be together. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Because I didn't want to rock the boat or whatever. And when I was young and dumb, I just kind of got, frankly, bullied into getting married twice, that I didn't want to be married. And I just was
because
desperate.
That's what people do.
Well, the first one is, I felt immense pressure. It was basically, I don't know where my guilt obligation came from. Maybe, I don't know where that came from, but I feel like guilty if I don't take care of people. Mm-hmm. Like this girl quit her job and moved to me to the country and helped me get a practice going. And then, like, she's like, we're getting married. And I'm like, I don't really want to get married. She's like, no, you owe me to get married. Like, all right, if it's that big of a deal, I guess we'll get married. It's that much to you. And it was one of those, it was like a sacrifice to do. And then obviously, when you go into that,
with that.
Well, and he's a people pleaser too. Mm-hmm. He always wants to make everyone happy.
Yeah,
and not rock the boat.
Bad
you're always
blood.
like, you don't ever want anybody to feel bad.
But what that led to was me dating long-term relationships and then not being happy with these people, and having either affairs or just staying with them and being miserable. So unfortunately, when I had like an affair, I had a few over the long-term relationships, and if I could redo it, I wish I could. But at the time, I was so unhappy and so miserable that other people turned to drugs, other people turned to drinking. I turned to sex and had an affair, but it wasn't like I was just going out to a bar and, having a one-night stand. And I usually dated the girls I had an affair with for like 2 years. While I was dating someone else, I had this super long affair. Because I was trying to find that feel-good emotion, I was getting a piece of it from this girl and a piece from this girl, security from one girl and the emotional love from another girl. And I was like, man, this just, and it made me sick to my stomach, and it almost felt outer body. Like when you have an affair, it feels like you get possessed, someone else takes over your body, has a good time with it, and then turns it back over to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Like, why did I just do that? And then to justify it, it's like, well, I've already had an affair. Why not just keep going and doing it over and over? I've already broke the seal. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy the ride, And it was just like these serial monogamous relationships I would get in. And for spiritual reasons, the ones I really came down with, I'll go back to my first wife. When I first started doing chiropractic and energy work, like, kind of just came up. I kept running into energy workers, and I didn't know much about it. I was in Atlanta at the time, and there was quite a movement there, and I was running around with hypnosis circles. I thought, maybe I could learn some hypnosis in case the chiropractic thing didn't work out. I was like in school, and so I took these courses, and I met these energy workers that were doing like hypnosis stuff in Atlanta. And one time, I was at a hypnosis seminar, and I remember it was in the Caribbean. And I was on this boat. I remember looking out in the water, and like a grace fell on me. It was the first time I ever felt it in my life, of just a peaceful, this is it. And it lasted for a few minutes, and it was like a sunset, And I was like, it was just this grace. And after that, things just blew open for me. And when I was at this hypnosis seminar, I was doing all kinds of healing, like amazing stuff. And I was actually adjusting and working on people, like strangers, and we were collecting money, and I would just like donate it. It was super high being stuff for me. And I come back and I tell my wife about it. And I'm like, man, I did all these cool things. It was great. I feel such like a good person. She's like, what? You made, $1,000 and you gave it away? Are you an idiot? It's like, no, you don't get it. It was a symbol to the universe that it wasn't, and when you give, so what is it? The law of three more comes back. I just made us $3,000. It was like, I'm giving it away. And she's like, God, you're an idiot. We really need that money. You need to do this and this and this. And And it was one of those things where I had this beautiful experience, and the minute I get home, it gets squashed. And over and over, because I started getting visions and messages for people. So, and I'm dreadfully, I never tell people about that, because as soon as they find out, oh, you get visions, and all of a sudden you've gone to woo-woo land, and you're no longer a real doctor, you're some quack. Yeah. And because I'm trying to start a practice as a young man, I put all this money, hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, trying to get open a practice with, student loans and all this crap. And if you get labeled as the quack woo-woo doctor, that's it. Yeah. You get one turn and boom, all that's out the door. No one in your town comes to you. So I always had that fear that if people found out really what it was, so like I'd sneak in energy work when I adjusted people, I would do this quietly. If I saw someone with a crystal, I'd be like, hey, can I do some stuff? But I never had any support at home, so I had to keep it real quiet. So when I ever got like a message or a vision, I couldn't openly talk about it, because my first wife was Southern Baptist, and she was like, oh, no, you can't talk about that around my family and friends. You're embarrassing the hell out of me. So
they view that as witchcraft.
That, and even if she believed it, she didn't really believe it. She thought it was all bullshit, and she thought it was a way men used to be predators to women, like, oh, you're going to hypnotize her and have relations with her, that kind of stuff. They thought they always went to like the worst place with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I basically locked it up and suppressed it. And then, it took like 15 years, and I kept having these psychic women come to my life, and they would say, you need to open this. Or a girl would like me. I met a shaman once. There was a lady, and she literally went in, and she said she saw it like locked up, and unlocked this and tried to pick this lock in my mind. And when she did, the next day, like all the visions and stuff came open. Like it blew open. And so I had locked myself up because I let my spouses tell me I couldn't, and I let society tell me that I would be the quack doctor if I did. And that was really hard to get over. And from relationship to relationship that I did, I had to suppress it until I got comfortable enough. And finally, 2020 came, the blender, ripped apart my life and gave me Steph. And Steph's been so supportive and open to it and nursing to it and really just trying to let it go at full force. I love this girl that she would.
And a powerful shaman in her own right.
Right.
Yeah.
Extremely powerful. So what happened was that we would then go to start, like I would bounce these ideas off her, and she's like, oh yeah, you should develop that, or you should do this. And it's so different now, because just in a few months, like my powers really come through.
Because
I'm not suppressing it anymore.
Where you actually were like, what do you think if we get like maybe a group of these together and maybe do like a little event in the fall? We want to do that anyway, have some people up.
And for just business wise, for my chiropractic, I was always scared to let people know. But now instead, if the people that think it's woo woo crap and quackery, they just don't come. But now I'm getting the people like you that are like, looking for I want a doctor to blast some energy through me while we work, And so I'm just owning what I am now. But it's brought you the patients you need, the patients you want. It's a huge fear thing, because you're basically like saying,
well, and it's hard.
Okay, I'll be the quack doctor and own it. Screw y'all. I'm going to be the best quack doctor around.
Well, and it's really hard too, because chiropractors already like.
Yeah, we already got a bad rap because of all the quackery that was done. But I'm damn good at what I do, and for some reason, I've been blessed to do it, and I've always been too shy to own that. I'm always like, no, I don't want to be. I need to be humble about it. But if you got a gift, you got a gift, and for some reason, I'm really good at this.
That's the hardest thing.
And it's very hard to accept that, because I feel like I've always been way. I don't know. Like I was told it's like bragging is bad, or you're not being humble. When are you allowed to say you're good at something?
Yeah, we
Never,
had this conversation a while back where we were saying, accepting some of these things is like blasphemy, right? Like the church would see it as blasphemy.
Oh yeah.
And our friend and mentor was like, the real blasphemy is not allowing that to flow through. because you're suppressing it. You're not allowing
You're not being yourself.
the energy of God, the energy of Source, the energy of Jesus, of Mother Mary, of Mary Magdalene, of anybody who comes through. You're suppressing that. That's the real blasphemy. You know, it's saying you're here limited to that time, and we can never bring that up again. And so much gets lost in that, and it's such a shame.
It is. I think that's the real sin.
Yeah, that is a real sin.
Not being true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Steph had the same issues. You know, she wasn't allowed to be what she is.
Oh,
not openly at all. And so
really religious, like, very not racist so much, but just mildly ignorant family, and I just didn't fit in with them ever. And I mean, I remember asking questions like, "Oh, we were Roman Catholic." You know how that one goes.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I would. Well, why is this? I don't question. Just, blind faith, and that's how it is. And then my mom was kind of like, I think she was like a religion addict, that she was always looking for something. So we just like tried every single religion out there.
Wow.
And she just kind of like drug us along with it. And so I had like no respect for any religion at that. I'm like, you can just toss these away and pick up another one, at the convenience store, apparently, And this wasn't, I never resonated with any of it. I was always uncomfortable. I was always like skeptical, but not in like a rude way. It was just like, it was so obviously that, so obvious to me that they're all going the wrong way. They're just blindly doing what some entity tells them to. And it just seemed like another form of, I don't know, kind of an anarchist since I was a little kid. Never was really great in school. Was not a favorite student.
Oh, God.
But
I had my own permanent desk by the slop sink in the back of the class. I was allowed to be with everybody.
Yeah, when the school principal at the elementary school says, "Please don't burn the school down."
Oh my God.
Well, it was all because my friend I had one friend that was a Jehovah's Witness, and they didn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. And you know how the schools are about that pledge. And I said, I'm not doing it. I'm standing in solidarity with my friend. I learned like a new word. I mean, it was like first grade, but I mean, he would cry at recess because all the other kids would pick on him.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, I mean, teachers back in the 80s weren't real nice, you know.
My special song to government.
Like swear that oath to something you don't understand. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I remember telling the principal, he was like, you have to do it. And I was like, no, I don't. He was like, well, he doesn't have to because it's his religion. His parents say he doesn't. But you have to. And I was like, I don't have to do anything. And I will burn this school to the ground before I ever say it. And
you have to do it in a free country. I can't imagine sing that song.
Imagine a first grader being like, I'm going to burn this place down.
I was so angry. I was so angry that some stranger would tell me what to do, that you have to do this.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm thinking, every other thing is there about the land of the free, and, I pledge allegiance to the flag of what's a flag,
Yeah.
And there's no explanation. And that was my biggest problem with all of society growing up. There's never an explanation. Why are we doing this? Just because we are.
Tradition, or somebody some long ago decided we should do this.
Because I said so.
Yeah.
I didn't say so.
So do you feel a lot more free in this relationship?
I do, much. It's great. And I mean, it's kind of annoying because I'm like, why did I have to get halfway through my life before?
Yeah, why are we in our late 40s and we're finally getting to be happy?
Why now? But it kind of came to me in like, not a vision, just like kind of like an epiphany one day. I was like, oh, because we would have just terrorized and thrown this relationship away if we hadn't,
Yeah, Edmund, now I wasn't open in.
I wasn't. I don't think if I hadn't had to work for it and learn all those lessons, I wouldn't know how to be.
Yeah, better appreciate it.
And that's so we've actually been talking a lot about that very thing this week. And Vanessa is at this point where she can really be grateful for all the crappy things. And I still struggle with judging it. I still struggle with feeling like I did a lot of crappy things in our relationship, including having affairs.
Yeah.
And I still feel guilt and judgment about those things. And I feel the same way, like you said before, I wish I could go back and change it. And she's like, no, I don't want you to go back and change it. That's how we got here.
Because then you wouldn't be the person I love.
Exactly.
And I will say the one thing that gave me peace was I atoned for it. Like, I went to every one of those girls in open heart and said, this is why I did it, And I explained it, and I said, what do I need to do to make this right? Every single one of them. Some of them told me to go to hell, never talk to them again. Others said, okay, do this, this, and this, and I did it. And I have good relationships with them now, and they understand why it happened.
Yeah.
And and so I think there is not necessarily guilt. I mean, yes, I was guilty at the time, but atonement helped me move past that.
Right.
Making it right with people.
And I love that you did that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right thing to do, and I did it mainly for myself too, because I was so sick, and I can't live a dishonest life like that, even though I did it. But when I was living it, I was sick to my stomach every day about it. Like, it did not sit with me. I know some people, they say that, they're like sociopaths where they don't think about it. I felt it every single day. Every single day I felt guilty about it. And that's just, it was the only thing I could do. But I will say, if you're in that position where you've had an affair, buck up, atone, and it really helps you guys move on. Mm-hmm. Just be like, what do I need to do? This is why I did it. Give them the answer and the piece of closure. Ghosting them is a real jerk move.
Yeah, I've apologized.
Give them the answer of why it happened.
If they take it, great. If not, that's their journey, not mine.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been working through some atonement with my ex-wife, piece by piece, as things come up. And we have a great relationship with her. We just went out to dinner with her for her birthday. We've had dinner a couple times in the past.
So it's great, especially when there's kids involved.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, it was really interesting to have dinner with her and Xander, and he was just so chatty and excited and laughing, and I was like, imagine being a child of divorce and having this experience where you're hanging out with both of your parents, your stepmom.
Right, because that was never going to happen the way I grew up. My parents divorced, and I mean, they never talked again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of parents not only do that, but use their kids as weapons against each other.
Constantly.
And just the trauma that those poor kids are suffering through, and the individuals are suffering through, going through that. I have friends that's happening. They're going through that right now, and it makes me so sad. But
it's also part of their path and their lessons, and sometimes that's the hard part, right? You see other people suffering, and I understand the empath in us wants to fix it for them. If I can just fix it for them, they won't have to suffer, but they also won't get their lesson. And sometimes you just have to go through it. And, it is sometimes surprising to Danny for me to say, I'm grateful for it. I love that we went through all of that. And it sounds absolutely crazy. We went through some horrible, nasty stuff. We were in a really, really dark place. And I'm in a place right now where I can look at that and say, that got me here. And if that's the road I hesitate to get here, then thank you, universe. Thank you for that experience. And I think once you start recognizing that it's all just an experience,
it is,
then there's no judgment in it. It's all an experience. It is what it is.
So, you have to look a certain way, and you have to, this is what a happy family looks like. And it's like you said with social media, everybody posts, if you went by Facebook, the whole world is ecstatic, 24/7. Nobody ever posts, I cried for 6 hours and ate a cup of ice cream.
I also want to point out something too that before I forget is, and this is a hard thing that I had to come realize is sometimes you're a tool to do damage in other people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're part of their lesson.
Yeah.
It's, I'm supposed to do this terrible thing, so they can move on and grow and this and that.
Yeah.
And it's helped me deal with that. Is okay, maybe the universe sent me to do this, and this is why I did this.
Yeah.
And
it's still my fault. But
I own it.
For a reason.
I own it, but there's some good that will come out of this.
I totally agree.
Not everything is always a bad thing.
Yeah, I definitely believe that we make these social contracts when we come into the world, and it's
soul contracts.
Soul contracts. When we come
Not the
in.
social contract.
The soul contracts. To have these experiences with each other, to create these things. Anytime something happens to us at this point, it's all right, we co-created that. Where's the lesson, or what are we going to do after this? It's just more liberating. I think it takes off some of that pressure.
It's because of the acceptance, right? Instead of resisting whatever's happening, you accept it and say, okay, I agreed to do this at a soul level, so I got to find where the lesson is. What is my higher self trying to tell me? What is God trying to tell me through this situation? And it's just a better, it's a more positive way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for the lesson rather than saying, "Why is this thing happening to me?"
Yeah.
I think it actually makes it more mellow too.
Yeah.
But way less intense
Yeah.
of an experience than it can be because
Yeah.
you're just like, yeah.
It's like, okay, there's a lesson here. We'll figure it out. And I think sometimes the harder part is having the patience for it to be revealed because it doesn't always get revealed right away. So it's like, oh, this thing happened. All right, the lesson will come at some point. I'll figure it out. You know, like not to stress over it because sometimes we drive each other crazy trying to figure it out. Well, what does this mean? Why did this happen? Why did I have to go through that? It's like, okay. I'll figure it out in a couple of years. I'll be like, oh, that's why that thing happened. I mean, right now we're figuring out.
Right now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
We're impatient. But
And even that impatience comes from fear, right? It's like, I'm afraid of what's going to happen, so I'm impatient. I need to know why now.
it comes
So
from
that I
a
don't
lack
have
of
to feel
trust.
the
Yeah.
fear or the insecurity of not knowing. When if you just surrender and are in acceptance, then
Just like you said, trust the universe. It
Yeah.
always works out. The worst times are when you don't.
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah.
you just trust.
I said that last night, but for your viewers who weren't there, basically the worst times I've ever had in my life has always been when I went off faith and I just started to solve stuff myself. Like my logical mind took over and was like, well, you should do this and this and this. And then, instead of just being like, nah, it'll just work out. It'll always just work out. And people, I mean, I was married to a very logical woman, and she's like, we think it's just going to work out. We have, bills to pay. You got shit to do. You can't just be like, it's going to work out. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. Watch. It'll be fine. And she just could not turn that side off.
Yeah.
That is an illogical answer, and that's not a good enough answer.
And I have a hard time turning
And
that
that
side
is-
on.
That's hard. But it is. I mean, if you live
I had
with,
such a
you're with a
control
logic
freak for a long-
person,
well, yeah.
with a spiritual person, well, that's a tough mix. And some of you guys that are listening are in that. You're like, oh, well,
That's where we were.
Well, I had that need for control, like we talked
Mhm.
earlier about. Just I want to plan everything out and it was a fear because that's the only thing
Yeah.
you can control is what you can plan out.
Yeah.
And then, but once you realize that it doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
If you don't control anything, just go for the ride.
That's the illusion that you had control.
Yeah.
Right from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Wow, going there. All right.
Well, I think this was a great
we jumped the shark
conversation.
there. Sorry.
No,
guys.
not at all. We love when it just flows naturally, but I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
And let me take this opportunity to invite you guys to the next Light and Liberty Festival. A year from now, we don't know exactly when, somewhere around Labor Day. But
Just reach
We'll
out.
definitely be talking about
Yeah.
it on Sovereign Lovestream.
and we have a Telegram group. If you want to keep in the loop, join us. Also a Signal group. Post those links.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'll post the
But if
links
you want
in
to
the
be involved
description.
in helping us plan the next one, again, there is no one in charge. So if you want to do something cool, come. I mean, we had some cool events, right?
Yeah.
We did, absolutely.
We had
Some great stuff.
there was all kinds of introductory stuff. Like there was the
Intro to the Tarot.
right here. It's
Toltec healing.
Toltec
Vanessa
healing.
did her
Oh,
Toltec
that's
healing, which you can
phenomenal.
find on the Sovereign Lovestream
Yeah, fun with
YouTube channel.
pendulums. We learned how to do pendulums until my rock got stolen.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's a good story. I'll have to tell that to your listeners. So I did this class on how to use basic pendulums and, just doing like yes and no and stuff. And we decided I thought, it'd be really cool if I hide this onyx pyramid somewhere in this campground.
He got
So
up
we
in the morning, went out
Went
and
out
did it.
at like 9 in the morning, hid this thing on an empty site, like underneath a post and underneath a table so no one would ever find it. And then I had everyone pull out the map of the campsite and they were trying to find where this thing was hidden. And then we find out that some kid found it and stole it and was running around the park and was like moving with him. People were like, this site, go this site. And we went and tried to find the damn thing, and finally the kid came and turned it in. So kudos to you, kid, but it really screwed up my class.
Not at
I don't
all.
think
It was
pendulums
proof,
work,
right?
Yeah, they're like, it's moving. But this kid imagine finding like this super cool onyx pyramid. It was like this big in the
For him,
woods.
it was like
would have been
buried treasure, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when you're a
It was like
9-year-old,
Pakistani onyx,
would've
so it's
been
like
like,
green and marbled and so pretty. Yeah,
I would have tripped out if I found that in the woods. I would have thought I stumbled on some sort of like fairy village.
like
or
some
something.
Indiana Jones
It's like,
stuff
it's
in
a
there. You know?
portal.
Oh, it was, kid.
Yeah.
It's very
And I mean,
cool.
I feel like
What
the
are
event was,
chances of a kid finding that in the middle of
in the middle of
burned out
nowhere.
I almost feel like it,
Well,
is now.
Yeah, I kind of want to give it to him. Honestly, it must be calling to him. I mean, for a kid to locate it randomly in a park.
Well, it's not like you just set it on a picnic table and walked off either. I mean,
Yeah,
we had it hidden.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 hours. It wasn't hidden for long. It wasn't there for weeks.
And I thought it was amazing that it seemed like our entire group was just traveling to all the different events that were held. It's like, I think everybody went to everything.
So if you guys want, well, I want to say this before you end your show. And my vision was this, so for you guys that don't know, I have a YouTube channel of about 100,000 subscribers, and I try to talk sometimes about esoteric topics, but a lot of people get ticked off on that, and they're like, just shut up and talk about gardening. They want me to grow things. So I had this vision, and I was like, well, maybe I could, send out a positive vibe, raise the energy through my channel. And I tried lots of shows, but they just never really got off the air. You get 100 views, 200 views, and I have 100,000 subscribers. I was like, what's going on? And so when I had this vision, I had it of, I should not focus on the public so much, and instead focus on other energy workers and get them healed and right so they can go out at full power. Mm-hmm. And then they can blow up their little circles. And I think that's what this event is going to be to me, is to invite you other energy healers or people that want to raise their vibration and want to help to come here and re-energize and come out of here full power. So you go to your little circle and bring it up, because I can exponentially, if I get 50 people right that are super powerful people too, and we all come out of here fired up, we're going to exponentially raise 50 circles of influence instead of just my circle of influence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was my goal of this. Is those
healer
are the
of
people,
healers?
Yeah, healer of healers. We're inviting people to come and get your stuff straight and come and we'll help you play your best game.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's a great vision. It's a great mission.
That's exponential growth to positive vibration.
Yeah.
That way. Because we're all struggling. I mean, every one of us is like some weird pilgrim in a weird land that doesn't accept us.
And we all need
outcasted.
the support of a tribe.
But here we feel
No,
normal.
it's been great. This weekend has been phenomenal. Just
I can literally have a conversation about pendulums, and people are like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," instead of being like, "Okay," or I can say, "Yeah, I had this vision," and people will be like,
well, and it's
okay,
it's nice because there's things like
they actually believe it.
like the energy, energy healing, and I mean, when you see it on somebody, it's so hard. I mean, Crystal and I talked to each other for like 10 minutes and then we were like, okay, we just have to go ask if we can. And so we went and asked Danny if, we can see this on you, we can feel it. So can we do something about this, please?
Yeah.
And he was open to it instead of like, getting the crazy look. But it was really nice. And
try that with an angry libertarian.
Right?
Anarchist, yeah.
It was a Pork Fest was a little rough.
Prove it to me.
I could see like trauma on.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it coming off in waves, and I mean, I can actually see colors.
But it gives me hope that there's a lot of angry libertarians that aren't anymore.
But they really weren't. Like I mean, because you were shocked. I was like, oh no, I just talked to that guy, and he was like, I've known that guy for 10 years. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was like, no, he's like totally open.
And he's
to
all of a sudden open. Like my buddy Catherine Bleish was one of the most hardcore activists I knew, and she's like total spiritual path now. She's like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about anarchy. I'm gonna live cool. And so like it's amazing to see some of these old school like us guys that are here now.
Yeah.
You're Ernest Hancock. I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah. He's doing his thing. It's amazing. These guys are so old school. And we're all hippies.
He's so mellow.
We're all hippie woo guys now.
Well, thank you guys again for coming on. We're running out of time. As always, we appreciate it. We'll put all the links to everything, including Tarrin's YouTube channel, in the description, and stuff about the Light and Liberty Festival, so you can find out more information about that. Thanks for joining us, and have a great Sunday.
Bye. It's elbow, wrist, like that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed that interview from the Light and Liberty Festival. As I just said, all the links are in the description of the video if you want to check out the Telegram chat or Tarrin Lupo's YouTube channel. Feel free to check those out in the description. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy your Sovereign Sunday. Just a quick note about social media. Please give us a follow on our social media platforms. We're on all the big platforms. But as usual, I want to talk about Minds.com and Float app. These are two privacy-centric social media networks. I don't have to tell most of the audience that YouTube and Facebook and Twitter are very openly now censoring information that they deem conspiracy theories or just information that they don't want you to see. We cannot allow these corporations to censor free speech, right? So we can do that by supporting apps like Float app and Minds.com. We actually are broadcasting live on Float right now. And these are privacy centric. They don't sell your information and they don't censor your posts. So we need to be migrating off of the big social media platforms and supporting these smaller platforms and helping grow them so that we can have uncensored information. Things are only getting worse and they're openly saying this. So give us a follow on those platforms and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. We love and appreciate you. Have a great week and we'll see you next week.